these police officers out here today, that's thousands of student scholarships. Thousands of students could have been able to go to school and have books and have housing.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a crazy pro-Palestine protest at UC Irvine featuring a professor by the name of Tiffany Willoughby Heard, who was acting a complete fool. Now, the protest was all over the place. It was live streamed. You had officers and students and quote-unquote activists, paid activists probably. It was a melee. It was a whole big dumpster fire. Now, I don't really know what the end goal is here. Maybe they want the USA to stop interfering with what's happening over in Israel, Palestine, Gaza. I don't really know. I think a lot of it is just for the election. Y'all know how it is. It's 2024. The same kind of thing was happening in 2020 and 2016. Was it Israel, Palestine, Gaza, the Middle East? No, but it was hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe. Then it became George Floyd. There's always some kind of chaos happening in the country, some kind of civil conflict right before an election. And a part of me, my tinfoil hat self, thinks that it's by design. It's not an accident. Maybe this professor, quote unquote, could be part of the plan. And before I get into the professor, let's take a look at the actual protest that happened right there on the ground at UC Irvine. I will link to this and the nutjob alleged professor in the comments in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
This officer there break up some of this, and they're going to continue to move forward.
Now, we got a whole lot going on. We have police, sheriff, everybody out there at UC Irvine. Now, this is in California, left coast. I'm surprised at the big police presence. It must have been a really bad so-called protest to have all these police out here really engaging with the crowd and trying to get things shut down, because a lot of times what you would see over there, things just kind of happen and it's not really a big deal. But I digress.
Pull someone out there.
Wow. Okay.
Pull someone out.
We could see more arrests.
So over to our right, Joab, if you want to point over here, someone's on the ground getting arrested as we speak, as members of law enforcement are ripping apart this barricade. Shouting match also taking place between the protesters and members of law enforcement. Someone just got through.
I like what I see so far. I like what I see, the aggressive handling of these aggressive so-called protesters, rabble-rousers, rioters, or whatever. I like the zip ties and the riot gear, the Kevlar helmets. I like it. I like what I see so far.
Thrown on the ground.
All right, Matthew, as we can.
And it says Santa Ana police on the back of their uniforms.
Continue to watch the movement here in your picture. We're going to bring in Jim Hemmold, who, Jim, thank you again for joining us, retired from the LA County Sheriff's Department, where you oversaw command of situations like this and were on the ground yourself as an officer during the Rodney King riots. So we take you.
Rodney King riots, talking about that right now is crazy. But then you got a guy right there on the ground getting arrested.
Back in time. You're seeing police here escalate their action. What does that tell you?
Well, you notice that the skirmish lines are going in very systematically, very methodically. They wanted to first make sure all of the resources were in place so you could give dispersal paths, safe escape routes, essentially for those who do not want to be involved in the unlawful assembly. So they were taking every precaution to make sure those were established. They were present. So
there's a bunch of debris, a bunch of trash and whatnot set up. Let me see if I can get a good, clear shot of it. Let me turn this volume down for a moment. So you can see there's like a bunch of signs and whatnot. And there we go. Boom. A bunch of trash right there. Now, I don't know if this was something that was already right there, some kind of tent structure for registration. I don't know what that was there for. Or maybe it was brought there to try and block off any kind of law enforcement from coming in to break up what they had. Maybe they had an encampment similar to other Ivy Leagues and regular colleges throughout the United States. Let's keep on going.
Established. They were present just in case something emergent or urgent occurred. So they did.
There goes that Palestine scarf. That's a staple of all these so-called protests.
A good job of
Jim, give me a second here.
To prevent any.
Are you a professor here? I'm a grad student and a proud union member with UAW 4811. Have you been camping out here the last 15 days or so?
No, sir, but we've been out here to support our students, our faculty, and our community members.
So this guy obviously is a lot older than your regular normie college student. So that's why he was asking, like, hey, are you a professor? What's going on? So we have a lot of these older people getting involved, and you got to ask yourself the question, why? And also, the older people being involved explains why the younger ones are involved, because they're influencing the younger people. Not just the older people, but also social media is a really big factor, a driving force behind all this.
What made you come in today?
When free speech is under attack, it's the God-given constitutional duty of every American to stand up and say no. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have a Bill of Rights.
You felt like it was important to show that demonstration by getting arrested yourself?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
We have nothing if we don't have solidarity.
Anything else you want to say before you get taken away?
No, sir. Free Palestine. God bless.
Does free speech include taking over a building?
No, it does not. That's the thing. You know, you got the right to freedom of speech, and that's totally fine. But the problem is when you guys get violent. My thing is we have the right to lawful, peaceful assembly. All this other stuff is just extra, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Now, let's get to the professor. And again, her name, from what I was able to read, is Tiffany Willoughby Hurd. And she is a tenured professor at UC Irvine. Let's check it out.
Protesters. Faculty member. I'm a tenured professor. They're destroying the campus and undoing a democratic, peaceful protest. Shame on them. Shame on them.
And what department are you in?
I'm in the Global Studies Department.
And why are you here today?
Because we cannot have a genocidal foreign policy in a democracy. These young people are going to be the ones that have to pay the price for these horrible decisions. These police officers out here today, that's thousands of student scholarships. Thousands of students could have been able to go to school and have books and have housing.
Okay, so first of all, you know, I was always told if you could see the top and bottom of, like, if you can see somebody's eyes, right? The center, the iris people or whatever, and then you can see the white at the top and the bottom of their eyes. That's a sign of somebody being crazy. And we're approaching the top and bottom eye level right here. That's number one. Number two, I guess she's the person that says defund the police. She's talking about all these cops out here that could have been thousands of scholarships. Okay, so who's going to keep the actual college safe? Who's going to maintain order? You sound like the lady, I forget who it was, it might have been Lisa Milano, talking about defund the police. And then when she saw some young men on the property hunting squirrels with an airsoft gun, she called the police, and the entire county came out for this boy. They had EMT, police, helicopters, all that. But I digress.
But instead, our chancellor, who is a very cruel man, decided to send thousands of dollars worth of state funding paid for by the taxpayers into the trash.
Are you concerned about this jeopardizing your job?
For real. What job do I have if the students don't have a future?
She's not worried about losing the job because she's tenured. She good. she could do all this performative stuff, and then she's not really going to get fired. And that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, maybe they might fire her. I don't know really how it works, but I figured if you tenured, I've heard about some tenured professors doing some wild stuff and still keeping their job, or underperforming, not really being a good professor and still keeping their job. So I don't think she's going anywhere. And she's double minority black woman. Yeah, not going nowhere. It's California, Los Angeles. What are you really going to do? But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to everybody out there that's peacefully protesting. Hey, you have the right to peacefully protest. What you don't have the right to do is take over a building, set up an encampment, trespass, and all that kind of stuff. Talking about you have freedom of speech in this context is like saying you could break into somebody's house, sit up on their couch, bring all your friends over, eat their food in the refrigerator, use the bathroom, and the bathroom, take a shower, go to bed, and then when you call the police to get them out of there, oh, nah, peaceful protest. You can't, that's my First Amendment right. Well, you have the right to protest. You have the right to the freedom of speech, but you don't have the right to break into my house and eat my chicken wings and my Cheetos and all that kind of stuff. You don't have that right. So let's not conflate things because you are thinking about one particular thing. the ends do not justify the means. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here? Do you think that this was a peaceful protest and it shouldn't have been broken up? How about the professor? Did she seem to be very nice and kind and compassionate? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. These protests are ridiculous, and I think the reason why they're happening is because we have an election. It's simple as that. If it was not for the 2024 election, this wouldn't really be a thing. And it's the same pattern every 4 years, right around this time. And I predicted it. I called it. I told people on my live stream, on my channel, get ready. It's going to get crazy because 2024, the election is upon us. It's always like this. And it'll probably be the same way in 2028, maybe even for the midterms in 2026 if the budget frees up in time. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.